Hey everyone, and welcome to my very first YouTube video for my podcast, Chatterbox Keirn. You can find me on Instagram at Chatterbox Keirn or on Twitter at Curtin Thomas. This month is Dyslexia Awareness Month, and I invited Dr. Samantha Johnston of Curtin University to talk a little bit more about dyslexia and what she's been doing in the field of psychology and education to help with this issue. I've known Dr. Johnston for quite some time, and our conversation took us back in the past, so I hope you enjoy it.
Does Curtin ever stop talking?
You're such a Chatterbox Keirn.
Why does he always have something to say?
Keirn talks way too much.
This is Chatterbox Keirn. So again, as I said, joining me all the way from Perth, Australia. Did I get that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Perth, Australia is Dr. Samantha-Kaye Johnston. You guys have been hearing me talk a lot about reality TV for quite some time. So I want to take a break from that and let's jump into serious issues that affect us as human beings. And as I said before, Dr. Johnston is a doctor of psychology. Wait, should I still keep calling you Dr. Johnston?
No, please. It is very odd. I'm okay with you calling me Sam, Samantha, anything.
Okay, I'll do that then. I'll keep calling you Sam. All right, so Samantha, how do we know each other? How far can you go back in your memory bank?
So, first of all, well, if I can remember, if my memory serves me correctly, I remember meeting you as early as, I think it was when we went to the Montego Bay Community College.
Right.
So I think that was my very first meeting. That was back in 2007, thereabout, because I remember finishing Montego Bay High School then, and then we went into pre-university art. So we've known each other for quite some time.
Yes, quite some time. Let me just say, your name preceded you. Just saying. We both went to different high schools. I went to Herbert Morrison Technical High School in Montego Bay, Jamaica, and Samantha went to Montego Bay High School. So different high schools. Montego Bay High School for girls. But I knew who she was before we met at Montego Bay Community College. Why? Because we had mutual friends, and mutual friends talked. So your name, I knew who you were by name, but maybe not necessarily the face, you know. But I remember.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Yep. But I remember specifically when I knew who you were, I was like, is she supposed to be in college, or is she supposed to go back to the 7th grade in high school? Because she was usually a smaller person and always looked like she was 12.
And you know, I've had those experiences, and I remember actually when I relocated to Australia, and I was going out and doing some presentations in some high schools.
Right.
One of the students actually thought I was coming to trial to see what the school was like, and to see if I liked the school to join. So these were grade 7 students. And I remember another instance as well. So shortly after I got married, so we got married in Jamaica and we had our honeymoon in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
And Matthew, my husband, he went to the bathroom, and I was there going through the check-in lines, and a lady approached me and she said, you know, where are your parents?
That's funny, because that's what, 2 years ago or something?
Yes, so 2017.
Right,
so it was
years.
really, really funny. So I said to her, no, you know, I'm actually on my honeymoon. She was very shocked.
That is hilarious. So you see, even now, as a grown person, people still think she is small. But I've never really said this to you. I mean, I had reached out to you when I was applying for grad school, and you helped me with that personal statement, and I appreciated that so much. Still not there yet. I got in, but you know, things happen. Anyways, I've never really said this to you, Samantha, but I'm gonna say this now, and it's not just because you're on my podcast. I had a lot of admiration for you. Maybe I have said it, I'm not sure, but I have a lot of admiration for you. I had, and I still do, because when I saw who you were and how much of a force you were in academia, I was blown away. I think I usually tease you guys, like, why do you read so much? Like, but not necessarily in a bad way. I don't know if you felt bad or anything, but I'm always like in awe. You always had a book in your hand, always, and papers. And I just didn't understand, like, why is she walking around with a bunch of papers and books? Why isn't she partying with the rest of us? But I was gonna say something else, but let's move on. Yeah, I had a lot of admiration for you, Samantha. So you should know that. You should definitely know that. So yeah, we met in Jamaica, obviously at the same Montego Bay Community College, and I think you mentioned this. I think it was in our communication studies class where you spoke about the love and passion you have for what you're doing now. I remember that because you mentioned your brother, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I remember that specifically, and that is why I was like, wow, this girl is really about it. Like, I was really shocked because back then I was also big in advocacy. I was doing a lot of work in my community, but we all had different things doing at different times, but we were all helping, I guess, and we all had a goal. And you really, you had a journey. You had a journey, and I know it was not necessarily easy, you know, but I can't wait for you to keep sharing it. So tell us a little bit about, as I just mentioned, when you knew you were supposed to pursue a career in psychology. When did you know?
So I don't think I understood what I was saying at that point in time when I was, well, to answer your question there, I think I was around the age of 3.
Wow.
And I said I don't know, I didn't necessarily know what I was saying, but I said it at that point in time. So I remember when we used to be in when I was starting kindergarten thereabout, and I realized that my brother, that he was really struggling, and I couldn't understand why he was struggling and I wasn't struggling at all, especially with reading.
Right.
And so, you know, they would have to keep him back a year thereabout. And for me, this was very heartbreaking because we were very close. And so I don't remember what my mother said this to me, even recently. She said, I came up to her and I said, Mommy, you know, I'm going to help people like Marlon one day.
Yeah.
So, who is my brother? And I don't remember saying that, but I think at the age of 3, I really felt that passion.
Wow.
I was drawn to want to help. And so ever since then, in terms of the activities that I became involved in, whether, you know, I volunteered at Montego Bay High School, UE, ComC, and beyond, it was always geared towards really advancing the work of reading development.
That is amazing, and I really saw that. I felt that when you were speaking about it, and I was blown away because it was a very personal story, and you used that to propel you forward. Actually, you know, a lot of people went ahead, and you used that as a catalyst to where you are now, and that's so commendable, Samantha. That is really amazing. I bet you didn't even know I was paying attention then, because I remember exactly what you said. I remember because it was something that stuck out to me.
And it was, you know, it's something that, apart from it being personal, it's just something that after being engaged with the field and become so heavily involved in research, this is something that I became even more passionate about, because the thing about dyslexia, which is, you know, of course, the inability or difficulty with reading, writing, and spelling, is that you don't necessarily see the impacts until years later.
Yes.
So the research tells us that, yes, you don't see it until years later, and so it's not necessarily addressed, and you can't physically see it sometimes.
Right.
And so, you know, what really bothered me as well in terms of with my brother's story, he stutters as well, and so when he went to ComC, he also went to ComC after me, so he was held back a couple of years, and I really admire his strength, his character, because he did CXC and he failed math and English, and you know, those are the 2 core subjects.
Right, that we
he failed them. yeah, to get to come see, he failed them about 5 times, and he kept on going, and he kept on going with the
Wow.
encouragement. And he went to come see, and my mother and I would go and cheer him on. And when he had his presentations, and Kern, the students, and these are adults now, when he was
Yes.
speaking, they would laugh at him. They would laugh at him. And so this really, really broke my heart, but it also provided the catalyst to want to educate people more about what dyslexia is and how it is, it has an emotional consequence when
Yes.
you aren't able to achieve what you want in that particular point in time.
Right. That is amazing though, Samantha, because I really like people who don't let their disadvantage hold them back. Like they work against it. I mean, you mentioned your brother stuttering, and of course, I don't think I'm dyslexic, but I have a stutter too at times, and I have a lisp, and sometimes I do not want to talk. I feel self-conscious about it, but that's just the way life goes, right? That is just the way life goes. But I love that story. I think it's something a lot of people can resonate with. A lot of people are out there struggling with not just dyslexia, but other reading disabilities or other disabilities that they don't even know they have, because like you said, dyslexia is not something you can physically see. It's not something that you can see. Let me just jump into something that I found when I was reading. I didn't necessarily know much about dyslexia or that part of thing, because my degree was in politics. Here I am though. So I found that it says that dyslexia is also linked to genes and often runs in the family. So could you expound on that a little bit?
Yes, so it's hereditary.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that can be passed down through genes. So more often than not, you'll find that if someone has dyslexia, maybe not their parents, but maybe a grandparent. So for example, in my family, my parents don't have dyslexia, but my father's brother, he has dyslexia. So it's a brain-based difficulty, but it also runs in the family. So this is actually another indicator that people need to take into consideration. Maybe somebody in the family has dyslexia. It is likely that other persons in the family, whether it be your child or maybe your future grandchildren, they may have dyslexia as well.
Wow. Do you hear that, guys? But is there a way to test it? I know that sometimes you can't see it until it's too late, but I think, because it says my short research that I did for this little interview says that it cannot be cured, but it can be managed. The earlier the better. So how true is that?
Very, very true. So as always, early intervention is the best. It's not something that can be cured, and you can test for these difficulties as early as the age of 5. A lot of times, parents or teachers would approach me and they would say, "Oh, my student or my child, they're not reading," and you ask them their age, and they're sometimes 3 or 4, but that's sometimes a bit too early because they're still in that developmental phase. But as the research shows us that as early as age 5, they can be tested, and of course this is done by a dyslexia specialist, somebody who's certified in that area. But another key pointer, because some of the tests that I use is this whole idea of, it's called phonological processing. And what that means is that it's just an understanding of speech sounds. A lot of times people think that reading is a visual problem. It isn't. It's because you don't understand the sounds, the sounds that make up a word. So it's a sound-based difficulty. Yeah, so it's done, we call it like oral language. So for example, a lot of times I will test kids, and we have a particular task, it's called phonological awareness, and we try to make it fun. So if I say to them, "Can you say the word mat without saying the sound?" You should be able to tell me at. Because you can manipulate the sounds, but somebody with dyslexia has difficulty with doing that. And over 30 years of research, tried and true, it shows us that this core phonological awareness skill
Yes.
is related to later reading ability.
Wow. I can go back as far as when my sister was maybe 6 and wait, that's too early. That's too late actually. When my sister was about 5 and my cousin was 6, so they're 1 year apart. No, actually they're the same age. What am I doing? They're months apart. So when they were young, right? My cousin was reading a textbook or a storybook actually, and she remembered everything. And everyone was like, but she's 5. How does she remember everything? My sister, she didn't like reading then, but she didn't. I don't think she even has dyslexia or anything like that. But it took her a longer time to read it. So for my cousin, would her recognizing the sounds, would that have been something that made her understand or be able to read the material faster?
Definitely, yes. So it does help with fluency, because a lot of times we do think that we forget that reading has 3 parts. So reading accuracy, reading fluency, and reading comprehension. In the end, reading comprehension is really the ultimate goal. You must be able to understand what you read, but there are certain key skills that must be attained before you can get these three different components. So it's very complex. Reading is not natural. Everybody thinks and this is why unfortunately we don't have proper reading instruction, because there is really a misconception that reading is a natural process.
Right.
Human beings were never evolved to read. We were evolved to speak.
Wow.
So it's not natural. So it's something that needs to be taught explicitly.
Wow, that is something. Human beings were never. Say that again. I that's messed that up. Say that again. Human beings were never what?
So the human brain was never evolved for reading. It wasn't designed for reading. Initially, it was evolved for speaking. And this is why speaking oral language, this is why speaking actually strengthens reading, because our brain has already been programmed for oral language speaking.
Wow.
And we just try to, map the sounds to the specific letters on the page. And that does strengthen the brain pathway. So,
wow.
Unfortunately, people think that reading is natural, but it's not a natural process.
Wow. Oh my God. Reading is not a natural. I thought it was natural. I thought you just knew how to read, or you just didn't. I didn't think about. Maybe that's why oral history is something that can never be erased, if you know what I mean, because the same stories are being told over and over by people sometimes who can't read that history, but they know it. You know what I mean? They could tell it because they remember it, but they can't read it if they have a problem with reading. So I guess that is kind of true. Wow. That is interesting, Samantha. That is I can't. I'm just stumped because I've never heard that one before. So when this is finished, I'm gonna actually go on the internet and do some research myself, because I need to know more about this whole topic. So now we're at community college. You said what you said about your brother. You shared that information. It's stuck in my head ever since then. And we went to university, the University of the West Indies. So when you started, you immediately went into psychology, right?
Well, actually, no. I was initially, to be honest, was interested in media and communication, because
really,
after the passion, I was more specifically with the writing element, because I thought, okay, I want to work for the New York Times.
Right.
This is what I was thinking at that point in time. And so I'm going to go and do the media and communication degree. But then I saw the requirements to do the going into the media and communication at UNN. And I think you had to do some elaborate test to get into the. So I thought, I didn't want to go down that route, to be honest. And so it was between media and psychology. And then I thought my second choice was psychology, because I thought, okay, now I can really explore the brain a little bit
Right.
more and try to better understand what causes dyslexia. And in a way, I can still write about it, of course. But now I
Definitely.
would have that added strength of really understanding the brain.
Right. Wow. I had no idea. It was either international relations for me or go to the call centers or wherever else that I could get work. I had no plan B. Literally, when I applied for university, my second choice was international relations. First choice, second choice, the same thing. No other options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before I went to UE, though, I did work in a call center in Freeport before I went to UE.
Ah, really? In the summer?
So in the summer period.
Oh, I was working in the courthouse. I was working in the courthouse then.
So
So I've never been to the call center. But you've never been shy about working anywhere, and that's also something that is like a lot of Jamaican people, a lot of people in general kind of look down on people that work at the call center. They're like, why are you going there? But it's like you kind of have to, meaning it's a job that needs to be done and someone has to do it. And I remember you, I think you were working there before you even went to before you undertook your master's degree, if I'm not lying.
yeah, so I was after finishing, after completing UE, I did work at Digicel. So I was ready, equipped, Curtin, ready to go into the world.
For the world of work, well ready.
With my psychology degree, and I applied for over 50 jobs.
Wow.
I remember because I counted, I applied for over 50 jobs, and I remember the only place that called me was the Digicel call center. And of course, that was not my main goal, because I wanted to do research.
Yes.
And I did speak with my previous supervisor at that time, but unfortunately the grants were limited, and
yes.
We did keep in touch and we would collaborate on papers later. But at that point in time, I remember when I lived in Mona, and this is when I transitioned from the UE campus, and I was living with my best friend. And I remember I called my mother and I said, "Mommy, I want to come home."
Wow.
I can't find any jobs. And she said to me, "It's hard, but this is a part of life and you're not struggling, so stay there and just tough it out." And so I said, I wanted to know what it felt like just to be independent, and so if it's the only job that was available, I went ahead and I did it. And for me, it was a beautiful experience because I still maintained the link to the reading element. So I remember in Digicel, I was very, very, very happy because they had a competition, a waves competition. That's what it was called. And internal, so employees could apply for a particular project. So I said, okay, this is my time now. I can put forward a reading project to them. I didn't win, but I still executed the project. So I remember every day before work, I would volunteer. I had a reading program at the Jamaica Christian Boys Home, and I would do the project, and I would get the boys together and we would work together for about 1 hour, and then I would go to work, and then I would do the same thing every day.
Wow. So even while working with the Digicel, you were still doing basically what you were called to do.
Yes, so I didn't want to lose that element. And when we were at UE, I remember, I don't know if you were a part of the Jamaica Christian Boys Rex. No, you lived on Preston.
Yeah, I lived on Preston.
On Rex, we had the Jamaica Christian Boys. So we had the Jamaican Christian Boys Home that we used to go to every Sunday, and I was the EAC at that time.
Yes.
So organizing social outreach projects. And unfortunately, the university had to cut the funding. And I remember going there, and it was heartbreaking to tell the little boys that, we won't be able to come.
Back.
And, coming back, and unfortunately, to them, it was such a big thing. For us, we went there and volunteered, and we went on with our lives. But for them, they enjoyed seeing us every Sunday. And I'll never forget what one of the boys said to me. He said, "Miss, even though the funding has run out and the school is not coming, you can still come." And I said, "Yeah, that's so true. I can still come. You can take a taxi down there." And this is how really the project started there with them.
Wow, that's really good. I have some kind of experience in that regard wherein you would be doing something in a particular location and you had to leave for reasons beyond your control, really. But and as you said, your life went on, but what you were doing impacted the people there, and they appreciated it. And sometimes it was just that one little meeting every week that they're looking forward to, just to get by, just to feel motivated, just to feel like they're worth it, and their time will come, if that makes sense. So I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I think I was one of those boys once when growing up. I always looked forward to going to my community center, and when I couldn't go, I always felt bad. Like, why can't I go today? You know, like, why is it raining so hard I can't leave the house? That's how I felt. Not that the comparison is really on the same level, but I always felt cheated. Like, why can't I go today? If something stopped me from going to the community center, just to be there, just to be in the space of people who are like-minded, people who have views that they wanted to share, just to have regular conversation. But as young as, you know, in our country, it is really important for boys to have like strong role models. It doesn't matter who it is, male or female. I think it doesn't matter if it's male or female, but they need to have strong role models that they can look up to, someone that they feel like they can talk to, someone that they feel will be there, just to offer an ear, just to offer one word of advice. Sometimes that's just how I feel.
I agree. I agree with you. And I still keep in touch with some of the boys from the home. So I still try to keep in touch with them. And a couple years ago in 2016, I started a scholarship, so Project Capability. And one of the boys now, so we're sponsoring him now to go to the UE. So he's at UE now.
Wow.
And I'm just really proud proud of him.
Yeah, where's the applause button? Where is it? Let me just do it right here. That is fantastic. That is fantastic. So since we're now out of the university, wait, before we leave there, you were chosen to be our valedictorian. That was something when I tell you I was cheesing in the audience, I was cheesing. I sat there in my robe and I felt so proud. Like, I know her. We know each other. Like this. I was so happy. I felt like it was me up there giving that speech. And I was like, wow. From that little girl at Montgomery Community College all the way through to UE, graduated on the same time, together in the same faculty, and here she is being our valedictorian. I was blown away. How did you feel when you were asked to be the valedictorian out of all the people in the faculty? Our faculty is a huge race. How did you feel?
So that one was very interesting because first of all, I didn't expect it, to be honest, because it's based on GPA, and my GPA was not the highest.
Right. And
so this is what they said to me. So I said, okay, why is it that I'm here? Because we had a meeting and I said to him, why is it that I'm here? So they had I'm not really sure what their process was at that point in time, but I remember I was finishing when I was completing UE, and I remember I wanted to go to England, but I was still in Jamaica, still applying and so forth. And I received a call, and Curtin, I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it because I even checked the email and I said, no, this could not be true.
Right.
And so they said, and of course I was back in Montego Bay because I'm from Hanover, and back that side. And yes, when I saw the email, and I think they sent it on a Friday, and they said, can you come to UE in Kingston on Monday and write a speech and tell us what you would say. So it must be like a 5-minute speech. So there, I was so nervous, and of course I told my parents, and they were excited, and we get the money together, and I went on the Knoxford.
Yes.
And so I went and I gave my speech, and I spoke to the best of my ability. And I remember on the way back, and I was thinking, did I do a good job? Of course, when you're waiting on something, you think all these things. Did you put your best foot forward?
Yes.
And so on the Monday, they messaged me and they said, we're delighted to let you know that you've been chosen.
Wow.
And I was just I felt really honored because I didn't expect it. So I felt really honored, but still the weight was very heavy because I knew the magnitude of, I know what it entailed.
Yes.
And so over the course of the, I had a trainer. I had a trainer from TVJ.
Wow.
I had a trainer to, speak and to make sure that I'm pronouncing the words correctly.
Right.
Make sure I'm standing, with you hold the book on your head.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you're standing correctly. So it was very intense. I had training every single day for the speech, and he would help me to craft the speech and also to deliver it. So I had to, go for the speech, making sure that I committed at least parts of it to memory.
Wow. I remember sitting down and I can't tell you now exactly what you said, which is odd because I usually remember a lot of things, but I remember sitting there in that seat and I felt like, wow, she's speaking for me. I felt like, and I told everyone this at the time, I'm like, she captured our experience well. Like, how did she speak for all of us? I'm like, I felt like she spoke for me. We were here for 3 years or however long we were here for. And I felt like she captured the university experience. That's what I was saying. I said, I felt like she captured how we felt as students, as young adults. I felt like she captured how we feel entering into the world of work or like fully leaving outside of the school bubble for a minute. And I was just sitting there thinking, wow, she really did it. And I know her. I know who she is. I mean, afterwards, we took pictures. We went to the dinner on Rex. So that was kind of cool. I was just like, wow, that's amazing. She really did that. She represented us very well. And sorry for interrupting the video, but YouTube would not allow me to upload the whole thing. So I'm going to stop it here. And part 2 continues in the next clip.